Oh my God. Does no one else have a problem with this? Nobody? Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Natalie Megan and this is Weirdo Book Club. And you're in for a treat today, my friends. I tell ya. So at some point, not too long ago, I hit 5,000 subs, which is crazy. Then 6 days later, I hit 6,000 subs, which is even crazier. And currently I am sitting at 8,363 subs. Oh boy. That's a lot of people. This growth has made me feel a couple of things at the same time. A little bit sick and a lot thankful. And in the spirit of gratitude, I've decided to treat you today. We're treating ourselves. Well, you're treating yourself. I suffered for you, but that's what our relationship is at this point. Isn't that great? Today, I am going to be reviewing for you Satan's Affair by H.D. Carlton. I know, keep it together, okay? We've got a lot of ground to cover. For those of you who don't know, also known as people I'm jealous of, this is the prequel novella in the cat and mouse duet, which holds the world of Haunting Adeline. I hope you're happy. If you haven't already seen my review of that nearly 600-page testament to human suffering, I encourage you to do that. It isn't necessary to watch it before this one or anything, but I did put a lot of time and energy into it, and it's something that you might also enjoy if you're here with me now. So just letting you know. But it was a very intense labor of love at the time. It took months of time and years off of my life, I'm convinced. Also, I feel like this is a really good time to let you know that if I make you chuckle or if I make you think or if you like my content, you should like or subscribe. It doesn't cost anything, makes me happy. Let's do the disclaimers, shall we? The first one is always the same. This review will contain spoilers, opinions, and general shit talking. I did not like this book and I'm not shy about it. If none of that interests you, just go away. It's fine. I promise it's not a big deal. I won't even take it personally. This is just not a review for you. It's also not for the author. Number two, I must reiterate that I am not coming for the dark romance genre in general. Even though this will be a critical review of this book that is in the dark romance genre, this does not mean that I am attacking it as a whole. This review isn't personal. You're allowed to like what you like and read what you want to read as long as you're not harming anyone else. And number three, this book will be discussing and touching on some darker, heavier topics. And I will go over all of that in the trigger warning section. But I did want to do like a prelude to the trigger warnings because I think we have some more anti-Semitism that comes up in this book. Isn't that fun? We'll discuss it more when we get there. I will warn you appropriately, but I just wanted to let you know in case you're a Jewish person who doesn't feel like dealing with this kind of bullshit today. And number four, mental illness is basically the entire plot. While I am making fun of this character and this book, I'm not making fun of the actual real struggles with these kinds of mental illnesses. And I also was talking about this in my Discord, and I mentioned that the main character's name is Sibby, and she suffers from hallucinations. And someone asked me if her name was Sibby, short for Sybil, like that one book from, I think, the 70s or 80s that was called Sybil, and it was apparently a nonfiction true story about a woman with DID. But until that person asked me that question in the Discord, I did not think of that, even though I have a copy of that book on my shelf. And I know the controversy surrounding it is like it was fake and the girl was lying the whole time. Love that. Is there a polite way to say that I don't think H.D. Carlton cared enough to have such a deep cut? Is there a nice way to say that? If there is, know that that's what I'm trying to put here, but I don't know. And maybe if you out there are smarter than me, you do know, and you can let me know in the comments. I do think it's a weird coincidence. I also think I'm tired. Let's get into the details. So as stated, Satan's Affair is the prequel novella in the Cat and Mouse series with Haunting Adeline Book 1 and Hunting Adeline Book 2. I have not read Hunting Adeline Book 2, but please know that I am going to. I am financially obligated to do so. I haven't gotten around to that one yet because I'm afraid, and now I have to read it. Anyway, Satan's Affair is the prequel novella, and it seems like the timeline in Satan's Affair kind of mirrors the timeline in Haunting Adeline, except it's chopped up a little bit more and it's shorter, obviously. Or it might just be the same time frame overall and it's just smushed into a novella, which would make sense because there's no plot to be found. I'm getting ahead of myself. You may recall from the original rant of Haunting Adeline that Satan's Affair is the name of that haunted carnival that Adeline and Daya are just beside themselves excited about to go to every year. What is that sentence that I just said? Whatever. It's the haunted fair that they love, and it's also the place where we met Sibby for the first time, who is the main character of this book. I'm sure you remember Sibby, but just in case you don't, she's this murderous, slightly touched, young-ish girl dressed up like a broken doll who works in the haunted dollhouse at the fair. I don't know how old she actually is, but in Haunting Adeline, Zaid is quoted saying she isn't a child by any means, but could still be sold, which is extra delicious since this whole series is about PDF file rings. That's great. And it's only made greater by the fact that Sibby is written very childlike, which I will be doing and reflecting in her voice that I give her today. Because I love that both female main characters that I've met so far in this world are written very young and naive. I love that, especially because this is a dark romance full of smut of these women also getting railed. Childlike women getting railed in the QAnon fanfic dark romance. I don't find it concerning at all. No, not me. Some other little fun facts we learned about Sibby from the first book are: 1, when Zaid first encounters her in the dollhouse in Haunting Adeline, she is seen hollering at people who aren't there. So I expect fun stuff from this. 2, her dad was a cult leader who unalived her mom, I think, and then Sibby unalived him. I don't remember, and I refuse. Nay, I rebuke the idea of going back to check. But something like that. Satan's Affair was originally published in April 2021, just a few months before Haunting Adeline. It's 197 pages. It is available on Kindle Unlimited, and it's categorized as a dark Why Choose romance. Honestly, if I was still stupid, like before I read any of these, I would be a little bit excited because a fun house, haunted house, creepy doll thing, that sounds fun. But I'm not stupid anymore, not about this anyway, and now all I feel is dread. Let's go over the synopsis. I've noticed that I'm really quiet in the front of my videos, and then I get louder as we go along because I get angrier. So I'm trying to be loud. Every Halloween, Satan's Affair will come to you. We travel the country offering terrifying haunted houses, thrilling rides, and the tastiest food. And with every passing town, I cleanse this world, one execution at a time. I hide within the walls, casting my judgment for those that reek of evil, singing lullabies into their rotting souls. Once you've been chosen, there's no escaping my henchmen. They cater to my every desire. You can run, you can hide, but it only excites me. Come, take a walk through my dollhouse, where your screams will blend and your cute little pleas will go unanswered. But I can't promise it'll be over quickly. Oh man, a lot of thoughts here. First, the spelling of judgment is technically correct if you're using a British English spelling, but I am not British, and to my knowledge, neither is this author, but cheerio. Next, why choose? Why choose henchmen? Sibby's henchmen are imaginary. I don't think I have that in me. That's what she said. Get it? You get it. This is going really well so far. Here are the trigger warnings. I know you're excited, and I know that we're in for some good shit here. Of course. And it's going to be thorough, and let's just do it. Let's just see. This book is extremely dark, with triggering situations such as graphic gore and violence, arousal by murder, mentions of child abuse, psychological torture, suicide, and graphic sexual situations suited for 18+ readers. And that's it. And as someone who has finished this book, it's not enough. So I will also add in necrophilia, potential antisemitism. I don't know. We're going to unpack that together. Child abuse, cults, mentions of an eating disorder, CSA, forced pregnancies, stillbirth, graphic R, and sodomy, death during childbirth, mutilation, demonization of mental illness, and drug addiction. But hey, listen. Hey, I get it. You can't be bothered to properly warn people about the garbage they may encounter that could potentially harm them when the most important thing is being infamously edgy and gross and HXC. I get it, man. I do. I don't. Also, can we say just the playlist? Just take a second. Okay, enough stalling. Let's get to that carnival. I just know it's going to be a ball of fun. We have our first chapter, and it opens to a totally not crazy Sibby. Don't call her crazy or you'll hurt her fifis. Someone with the help of her henchmen. What a great place to start. But speaking of the henchmen, let's go over them first. Let's meet the gang. Apparently there are 5 of them, and they are each wearing some sort of costume, obviously because they're in a haunted house. That makes sense. And they come with their own little tragic backstory with some of the worst things that you can imagine. Collect them all. This is so fun already. So first we have Mortis, a very scrawny guy with black tendrils for hands, but also claws somehow. And he's said to be the neediest of them all because of his mommy issues from being born to a crack addict who eventually overdosed and led to him being placed in the system. Next, we have Jackal, whose face is covered in boils and he had this wide, toothy grin and yellow eyes. And Timothy, a hot, shirtless clown with razor-sharp teeth. But it's okay because, quote, he's always careful not to cut me when he licks my... Jackal and Timothy were both raised in the foster system as well and have shared stories with Sibby that almost made her cry. Almost. She didn't share them with me, and I'm eternally grateful for that. Next is Cronus, who is gigantic and missing all of his facial features. He's smooth, kind of like Slender Man's super ripped cousin. He's also said to be, quote, a mute, which we'll talk about, because his awful mom locked him in a closet for days on end, and he screamed the entire time, and when he was finally let out, he just never spoke again. And finally, we have Bane, aka the Grim Reaper, who was abused by a father who loved fellatio, and now as a result of that abuse, Bane has trouble putting anything into his mouth, even Sibby's. But she doesn't push him on that. How sweet. I mean, I know that you're excited. I can practically feel it radiating off of you. All of this is so exciting and not stupid, not superfluous tragedy for no reason. We haven't even gotten started yet. Chapter 1. 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. Is it too late to back out? I was expecting songs. I think we all were, but not this one. Not this one. She also sings Ring Around the Rosie, and that doesn't bother me near as much because if some of you might not know this, but this song, 1, 2, Freddy's Coming for You, that comes from Nightmare on Elm Street. The classic horror movie with the classic horror movie villain, Freddy Krueger, a brutally burned man with a striped sweater and a fedora who kills children in their dreams with his razor-sharp claws. The song is often sung by girls in white dresses, jumping rope, and if you see them and you hear the song, Freddy's not far behind. To see it here in a book series that I already hate so much. This book sucks, and Freddy's a legend. But those are classic. You can't, okay. Aside from my annoyance for obvious reasons, it's also kind of confusing if you don't watch horror movies and you open up to a young girl singing Freddy's Coming for You. Who the fuck is Freddy? How are you supposed to know? I just hate it. And Sibby is also portrayed being a young girl in a white night dress with no underwear because God, she told us. And so it just makes me more irritated if you can believe that. But let's let's keep going. Anyway, she has one of her henchmen hold his head still while she continues, stabbing him, which we love it. We love a helpful man. Slay King, get it? Yeah. Gripping my pretty knife in my hand, I lean down closely. And start working the pointed tip around the edge of the man's eyeball. It's my favorite knife. The handle is bright pink and swirls at the end. I've had this knife since I was a little girl. It's the only thing left I have of my mother's. It's the only thing left I have of my well, you know what? I'm gonna put this into Grammarly. Look at that. It is just, I'm not paying for what I already know, but it feels so sweet to be proven right. It's just delicious. I swear. Also, Grammarly. You should sponsor me. She carries on singing and, removing the eyeball. Quote, as if I'm cutting cake out of a pan. And if you properly grease those pans or lined it with parchment paper, that sumbitch will just slide right out. But this is not, when gratuitous violence is on the menu, bring on the stupid analogies. I just can't get enough. 3, 4, better lock your door. Stop, I beg you, stop. I continue, my voice more subdued and distracted as pleasure sluices through every cell in my body and makes its way to the spot between my legs. Nothing gets me off more than my mission. I throw the eyeball. The soft plop when it hits the wooden floor, swallowed by the man's screams. Horny for the violence. Wonderful. Great. But you mean is swallowed, right? I throw the eyeball. The soft plop when it hits the floor is swallowed by the man's screams, right? Right? It's okay. It's okay. Everybody makes mistakes. You've made 5 on the first page of this published work so far, but who's counting? Not me. I still think it's so weird that we don't really know her age and she's this childlike. I know I'm hamming it up with her voice, but this is how she's written. She says stupid things throughout the book like crisscross applesauce and oopsie and that hurt my feelings. Ma'am, zip it. Later in the book, she thinks that she's 20, but methinks. That's oddly convenient, especially considered how infantilized she is throughout the book. But blah, 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 blah. Anyway, the guy manages to get free and he bolts. He's bleeding a lot. Must have hit a lung. Whoopsie. Oh gosh, darn it. Oopsie poopsie. Shut up. She starts after him, continuing to sing the Freddy song. And listen, if there was a moment It's past. I'm not sure that there was one, but it's done. Another henchman, Jackal, is standing guard while she hunts the demon. This is another little thing that might be confusing for you, so let's talk about it. She refers to these men that she kills as demons, but they're not like real demons, literal demons. No. She talks about how she can smell their evil, rotten soul coming off of them, and they smell like rotten eggs, which is canon when you are actually dealing with demons, which is another reason why I think this could be confusing. But no, these aren't real demons. They are just bad men. The bad people smell like icky, rotten eggs, and the innocent, sweet souls smell like flowers. Natalie, hi, which flowers? Fret not, my little anthophiles. Sibby's gonna tell you every single one of them. She has a nose like a bloodhound. Doesn't know how old she is, and was raised by a very abusive cult with no contact with the outside world until she escaped, but sure. Yeah. Maybe the cult offered like a 6-week course in identifying flowers by their smell in between like the forced intercourse and abusive indoctrination. I mean, I don't know what cults are up to. I've never been in one before. Well, we can't do this right now. So she's following her demon, who's also sick of her singing. So he calls her an effing crazy AB. And Sibby does not like that. No, sir. I'm not crazy. I'm just passionate. Agree to disagree. She tells us more about the dollhouse, the decorations, the layout, her pretty pink bedroom, and all her little creepy dolls lined up in a row. And they just make her so happy. Again, the fact that she is so childlike is extra delicious for me, considering how the entire series is based off of PDF file rings. And now she's starring in her own Why Choose Dark romance. How fun! She catches up to the demon because he must have slammed into Cronus, which makes sense because, like I said, Cronus is humongous. And I omitted this little bit from the intro because I wanted to save it for you for later. Every now and then it's nice to have a little treat, so here you go. Open up! After all, Cronus is the size of a Mack truck. He must be a bodybuilder in his free time. His neck is the size of a tree trunk. His arms even bigger. Bulging veins cover the entirety of his body, especially his cock. It looks as if he has no mouth and eyes at all, convincing prosthetics covering them, so it looks like his face is blank. I never bothered to ask how he sees. He's a mute. I figured the eyes prosthetics were see-through, as he never seems to have any problem seeing. Isn't that fun? I just know you're having a good... Okay. No mouth or eyes. Or eyes. Not no mouth and eyes, but, you know, whatever. This is so terribly written, I swear to God. Like what you want, you know? Derive pleasure from what you will, but let's cut the shit. This is terrible writing. Aside from that, though, the term mute has me at a bit of a pause. Like, I saw it and I was like, you know, and I don't know everything there is to know about everything. I'm just a regular person. And on its own, I don't think that that's an offensive term. However, it's inaccurate, as far as my understanding goes anyway. Later in the book, Sibby says, I know he's capable of speaking. He just refuses to, which makes him nonverbal. Him choosing not to speak would make him nonverbal because, again, the term mute means a person is incapable of speech, and nonverbal means that either consciously or subconsciously the person is choosing not to speak even though they can. I could be misunderstanding it, so let me know in the comments if I got that wrong or if I got it flipped. If I'm right though, this is just another example of this author not caring enough to research the terms that they use before shoving them into a shitty book and hitting publish. There's a couple things in the book where the henchmen seem to be corporeal because they grab and toss and drag the demon back into Sibby's room so she can finish him off. Make that make sense. She says some stupid stuff that's meant to be like esoteric and deep, but it isn't because it's stupid and redundant. You can't hide from fate. That's the funny thing about destiny. Even if you try to escape it, it will always find you. 6,000 people highlighted this passage. And it's stupid because these two sentences are saying the exact goddamn thing. The first sentence is simple, and the second one is shitty word salad. What is fate? According to my online dictionary, it's the development of events beyond a person's control, regarded as determined by a supernatural power, also known as destiny. You can't hide from fate. You can't hide from destiny. You can't hide from the predetermined events out of your control, which would indicate that these are inescapable things that are coming to you, right? And then she writes, that's the funny thing about destiny, aka fate. Even if you try to escape it, it will always find you. Both sentences are saying the exact same thing. And coupled with the fact that Sibby is the most childlike character in the whole book, this just feels like a third grader trying to tell me a story. One time I fell down and then I got a boo-boo because I fell down and then I couldn't walk because of the boo-boo and the algae from the all fall down. I'm so sorry about that, honey. Somebody get this fucking kid away from me. Anyway, Cronus, the demon, the gigantic veiny one, you know the one, grabs the demon and brings it back to Sibby, and gratuitous violence ensues, which would have been whatever forever if Sibby didn't start humping his unalive body, finishing off both him and herself. The feeling of my pretty pink knife cutting through flesh and bone makes my pulse. Euphoria racks through my spine, and within seconds I'm coming hard. I continue to grind my hips against the man, drawing out my and wringing out every last drop from my... I'm flooding him, my juices mixing with his blood. Hi there. I would like to explain to you a thing or two that you could have just learned on your own had you used Google. This is necrophilia. And I know what you're thinking. That wasn't... I ask you to hold all questions and comments until the end, okay? Thank you. Now, according to this chart that I downloaded off of Wikipedia after a 0.035 second long Google search, you will see that necrophilia is broken down into 10 classes and 8 categories. How exciting. Now, I won't be going over all of them because I encourage outside research and independent study. It's how we grow. But I will be highlighting on the ones that I think we're dealing with in order to illustrate my point, which is maybe should have put necrophilia in the trigger warnings list in a novel that is meant to titillate its readers. Even if some of the spicier things did something for me, in every way, on every day, necro ain't for me. And while I am disappointed, I'm ultimately not surprised that she didn't include necrophilia in the trigger warnings list. This is not the first time that she's omitted or incorrectly labeled something in her books, and it won't be the last. Being an edgelord leaves little time for consideration and due diligence. I feel ya. Right on. So Sibby is seen grinding her bits up on a man that she just viciously unalived, right? So arousal by murder is simply not correct. No, my dears. No, my darlings. It could have been had she become aroused by all the stabbing, gotten up, and gone to either finish herself off or find a living person to do it for her. But no, she opted to flop her folds all over this unalive man beneath her, giving us a Class 6, Category C, necrophile. I hope that this information was as illuminating as it was entertaining. I certainly had fun. Back to the show. Where were we? The fluids. Again, I'm not coming for the genre, but nothing is above reproach. This is dark romance, and in theory, it should be giving people a place to safely explore their darker fantasies in a low-stakes, safe kind of way, if done responsibly. And I think that's where most authors get tripped up. They're just too gosh darn busy shoving traumatic, gratuitous violence into these books to care, to pause for concern. You can tell when an author doesn't care, and you can tell when an author thinks you're stupid, and that, my friends, is how we end up with shit like this. But let's keep going, okay? Because we're only in chapter 1. God damn! If anyone out there watching is interested in time travel or studying the space-time continuum, you should contact this author. And I mean that so genuinely. I swear, every time I read one of her books, a paragraph, a page, whether it's 600 pages or 197, it feels like it takes me 11 years. Just ring her up. She should be studied because she's obviously got her finger on the pulse of how to make time stand still. She might not be a good writer, but she may hold the secrets of time. Mortis comes in and interrupts her, grinding on a corpse so he can dispose of it. But, let her finish, bro, right? I mean... And Timothy comes in to clean up the mess she made. She's a big old mess. Mortis and Timothy are her favorite, by the way, but don't tell the others. I didn't ask, but okay. Timothy starts to clean her up. He's the one you remember that is dressed like a clown, and you may recall also the exemplary literature I read about him earlier. He's got razor sharp teeth behind his plump lips, but he's always careful not to cut me when he licks my pussy. This is page 10. How can I be this tired already? She scuttles on over to the rocking chair so he can clean her up, and we get this lovely, illustrious passage. He spares me one last glance, making sure he has my permission, before darting his tongue out and gliding the wet muscle up my slit. She's living, though. Yes, queen and all that. She grabs his head, quote, suffocating the clown on my juices. In your juices. In your juices. You meant... in. Mortis comes back, dick out, ready to go. I left another little descriptive chunk out because I know you and I know what you like.
My henchman is a very tall man, though extremely skinny. He has no meat to his body, but I don't mind. Not when he carries all the meat between his legs.
Oh, I don't know what you want me to say to that. What am I supposed to say? What am I to do? I don't have anything written down. What do I say?
Not a single soul passes through the threshold of this house without me casting judgment, determining if evil resides in their souls. As they make their way through the maze of my dollhouse, I watch from inside the walls. They're all judged, every single one of them.
Okay, so that's the deal, right? She's on a mission to rid the world of evil people who she calls demons, and she has her little gaggle of henchmen that help her carry this out by hiding in the walls of this traveling haunted house fair thing and going across the country unaliving people. How are they not detected? Also, there was a bit in this book, and I'm not surprised because it's the same author, but you'll recall from Haunting Adeline where Adeline felt the need to over-explain what a house of mirrors was, and the same thing happened here with
These walls aren't real walls like a real house. They're hollow on the inside so people could...
Yeah. No, I know. I'm good, buddy. Thank you. Get the hell away from me. Chapter 2. Whew. She opens up the chapter by info dumping all of the henchmen's tragic backstory onto us, but we've already done that. But just in case you needed a reminder, they were all neglected and abused beyond reason. Now they're in Houston, Texas. Mortis is being really handsy because he's like the neediest one, remember? And
She is so annoyed with him because she needs to focus. And if she doesn't relax soon, she knows that he'll call the other henchmen in to quintuple team her. How can she resist when all their sausages are surrounding her? But she needs to focus on her mission. I think back to the last demon I killed, how his girlfriend was hanging on him when they walked through my house. Her roses would have wilted and crumbled from the tar he surely would have spread on her petals, just like Mommy's did when Daddy tainted her with his sins.
So we've got a girl that smells like roses. Write it down. I wonder what my soul smells like. I'd like to say marigolds, but after reading things like this, I probably smell like a dead lizard on the highway. There's no subtlety at all.
Her roses would have wilted from the tar on their petals.
It's basically a young female version of Zayd, which I'm not sure which one I hate more yet. She eventually gets so antsy that she just goes for a walk around the fair and literally sniffs out her next target.
I don't know all the sins that dirty a soul. The obvious or someone for nothing else than one's own gain or pleasure will taint a soul. But I don't believe all of the demons have committed such heinous crimes. Some are smarter, keeping their darkness deep within. Some might peruse the dark web, jaying off to child or reading cookbooks on how to grill human meat. Some of them take their pleasures into other species, effing animals and recording it. The ones that don't eff them usually unalive them.
Reading a cookbook that tells you how to grill human meat. I'm going to need the ISBN, Sibby, quickly. There's no way that that's real. Oh shit, I found one. It's called The Cannibal Cookbook, and it's written by French unaliver, necrophile, and cannibal Nico Klaus. I don't know. But according to his Murderpedia page, he flippantly answered, yeah, so what? When asked if he got jiggy with unalive people, and a dramatic, I'm no psycho, when asked if he spoke to them while he did it. Sound logic. God, I Googled it. Now Sibby's going to come after me. If she doesn't come after me, the FBI will. I have looked up so many concerning topics for this video alone. If any agents are out there watching, these searches are for educational purposes only. I promise. Moving swiftly on, Sibby's out and about, eating a cotton candy and just sniffing out evil like a son of a bitch. And she gives us a bit more of her origin story that I didn't ask for.
I've noticed the decrepit souls as far back as I can remember. Mommy and Daddy were members of the Saintly Baptist Church. Daddy loved to bring people to worship his word, citing that he's God's disciple and his word carries power. People believed him. Thousands of people believed him. He became their God. At night, when Mommy would go to sleep, I'd wake up to the sounds of screams. I'd sneak out of the room, tiptoe down the hall, and see several naked people in the room with Daddy, pleasuring him. From what I saw, he never returned the favors. At least not really.
Not once did I ask. Saunters around the fair, bumps into a girl, drops her cotton candy.
Fiddlesticks! The girl turns, her eyes wide.
I'm so sorry.
She's got pretty white blonde hair and brown eyes with beautiful porcelain skin. She'd be real fun to cut up.
Excuse me. Call me crazy, but this sentence sure does make it seem like she has a desire to unalive anyone and just uses her mission as a way of validating those urges and making them noble instead of sinful and criminal. That sounds so familiar to me, but I just can't put my finger on it. Maybe it'll come to me. After this, Sibby literally shoves her face up on the girl's neck and just takes a big whiff, which naturally freaks the girl out. Daisies, in case you're wondering. I'll write that down. She smells like daisies, and her friend smells like
I feel their lingering, nasty glares, and it hurts my feelings. I freeze again mid-step, remembering my cotton candy is stuck in the mud. Tears spring to my eyes and I frown deeply. I really liked that cotton candy. It's a pretty pink color, just like my pretty pink knife in a pretty pink dollhouse. I'm not happy. I'm not happy at all.
See, I hate it here. And I know that y'all are probably like, man, that voice is extra. Even if I read it in a regular cadence, she still sounds like a 7-year-old. Why are we doing this? I'm about to watch her get railed by multiple people at once. And she talks like this? Hate it here. How'd I get here? Oh, right. She and her hurt feelings head on back to the dollhouse and just hide in the walls and wait. She has a peephole, so she starts watching people, knife in hand, and she takes a second to get wet because she's daydreaming about being a spider. No, I'm not kidding.
In every nook and cranny in the tunnels, spiders spin their webs. I wouldn't dare swipe them down. I love spiders. I love what they stand for. Predators, no matter what or who you are. They're viewed as dangerous and something to be feared. I'd want to be a spider. I'd love for my house to symbolize them one year so I could dress up as a spider queen and sink my teeth into a sinner's throat. My anger abates as I fantasize. The juncture between my thighs grows slick.
She ends up peeping in and eavesdropping on a conversation between two of the other scare actors in the house, Jennifer and Sarah. Jennifer, who's always been sweet, smells like roses again. Let's put a tally mark next to roses. Sarah, who's kind of a bitch, but not evil, smells like grass. Did we run out of flowers already, Zip?
Sarah's also dressed up like a little doll. Though her face is painted to look pretty, she's supposed to fool guests into thinking that she's harmless until she opens her mouth and reveals razor-sharp teeth. Her costume is a metaphor for her personality, I've noticed.
Open your mouth for the airplane!
I understand symbolism for the love of God! Sibby hears Jennifer crying and telling Sarah that she thinks her boyfriend R'd her last night. She was in her cups, out of it. Her boyfriend's name is Gary. She said no, he didn't stop, and he's supposed to be coming to work to see her tonight. So Sibby has a new target. I will cleanse this world again tonight and set Jennifer free.
I really am just so tired already. I've thought of giving up many times already, but it's only chapter 3. I must press on. I have literally thousands of you to please now. Thank you again. We have a flashback chapter. A flashback to when? That's unclear since the subtitle of the chapter is about 18 years old. So if she was about 18 years old in the past, that means currently she's around older than that. So good. Yay. Blessings everywhere. So teenage Sibby shines more light on her troubled past with daddy and mommy and her 17 siblings. I don't remember asking, and I could not care less.
Her daddy is mean and evil, and her mommy and all of her siblings aren't brave enough to stand up to him, not like Sibby.
Daddy asked Sibby to round up all the women so they could come and suckle at the teat of him, their lord. And she said no, so he's pissed. That's the setup. Enjoy this little spoon-fed chunk of shit.
I just see a wolf in grandma's clothing. Mommy used to read me Red Riding Hood at night, and when I asked her if daddy was the big bad wolf in her story, she ran out of the room in tears. The next day, she burned the book and said that the book was made by the devil and she should have never read it to me.
So intriguing, so gripping, such skill. This is why I get headaches when I read Carlton novels. Every word is like a hammer to my brain. Hi, hello, hi. Real quick, we're gonna get into some weird territory here. I might have discovered more anti-Semitism. Fair warning, this next bit, when she describes her father to us, gave me a weird feeling along the lines of possible anti-Semitism. So let's read it together.
His face grows red and nearly black eyes bulge from his head. He's an ugly man. Thinning brown hair that shows his scalp in several areas. A square jaw and a hooked nose. He's Romanian, and he still speaks with an accent. He uses his accent like a weapon along with his charm and charisma. That's how he gets all his followers. That's how he brainwashes them.
After this, he goes on to, no shit, stab her in the hand with a fork. Serious cap. You see the part that's got me a little weirded out, right? A little gross, a lot concerned. And listen, I'm not an expert on this. I'm not a historian, nor am I Jewish. I'm learning, and I hope that as I'm learning, I continue to unlearn harmful things and candidly discuss it with you when things like this show up. And I also didn't talk about this too much in the Haunting Adeline review, but I do feel the need to discuss it now and just work it out a bit with y'all because I'm not real sure what I'm looking at here. Anti-Semitism and anti-Semitic tropes are things that seem to pop up in H.D. Carlton books from time to time. If you missed in my initial review, I briefly touched on this. H.D. Carlton was called out for anti-Semitic tropes in Haunting Adeline. She apologized for the harm that she caused and claimed to correct it through changing character names, character descriptions, and having sensitivity readers go through Haunting Adeline and make changes accordingly. And maybe she did. I don't know. I have not read the updated version. I read the original one. Woof. But since I hadn't heard anything else about it, and after seeing a bunch of large creators singing her praises about how accountable she was being and how great the apology was, I assumed that it had been handled, more or less. Plus, this isn't my apology to accept because I'm not Jewish. However, here we are again. Satan's Affair was published before Haunting Adeline, the book that originally garnered the feedback about the anti-Semitism. So why not have the sensitivity readers take a quick scan? It was already existing with the same heavy-handed tone running through it. Why not toss that one to the sensitivity readers too? The hooked nose is a very big thing used in anti-Semitic propaganda in Nazi Germany during World War II, and it continues to be harmful to the Jewish community today. But again, I'm not an expert. I don't know how this came to be in this book, but its existence is ignorant at best and harmful at worst. Plus, it also says that he's Romanian. Again, it gave me another pause, but according to several articles that I read and mostly understood, there seemed to have been a heavy anti-Semitic governing body in Romania around the same time as Nazi Germany. I'm not a historian, nor do I claim to be, but what I am well versed in is the way I feel inside my body when I read things like this. Add to that the fact that we already know that this author has a history of including anti-Semitic tropes in her storytelling, and that's how we ended up here having this conversation. Again, it seems to be a pattern now. I don't know, and I do apologize if I got something wrong or misrepresented or misunderstood something. I will correct it if that's the case, but I did want to take a second to express my continued concern that we keep seeing things like this. Serious cap off. Shall we continue? I mean, you don't have to. Honestly, after that, no one would blame you. But I did finish this book, so let's press on. She gives more backstory into her tragic childhood, the stabbing, the fact that her mother gave birth to her when she was only 11 years old. Some more bullshit about how evil will wilt flowers. Who cares? Chapter 4. We're back at the dollhouse, present day. Aren't we glad? And Sibby is watching everybody as they trickle on through. A group of girls walks into view, smelling as sweet and innocent as a garden in summertime, and Sibby watches them as they scream and playfully run away from the scare actors. I let the group of girls move on, staying in my spot and await the next group. The first group of 5 that came before the 4 girls are on their way out. While not every single one of the persons from the first group smelled like flowers, they didn't reek of evil either. If you're writing, your prose sounds like a math word problem, workshop that shit! I don't like math. I'm not a math girly. I loathe it entirely. Numbers are just not for me. I'm a reader. I do reader shit. Sometimes even dates are difficult because those are numbers and numbers are math, okay? And I remember when word problems started slinking their way into my math textbooks and I was like, these fools are trying to trick me. They think that if they spell out the number, I won't know that it's still math. Well, no luck, Buttercup, because I knew it then, I know it now, and I hate it both times. All the words in the world. You gave me a math problem. If the first group of 5 is 2 rooms away from the second group of 4, and the second group of 4 is moving at a slower pace than the first group of 5, how fast does the second group of 4 have to go in order to collide with the first group of 5 and end this rotten sentence? Why? I just don't understand why. Oh my God. Does no one else have a problem with this? Nobody? But when I read this line, my body started itching from the inside. No one else ran their eyes across this sentence or any of the other sentences that I've yelled about so far and thought, oof, that doesn't feel good in my brain. No one also is on their way out. Is on their way out. Subject verb agreement. The first group of 5 that came before the 4 girls are on their way out. Diagram it. Cut it down. The first group of 5 are on their way out. The first group are on their way out. What's the subject, gals and pals? Group. That's right. And group is a what? Collective noun. The group is on their way out. The group is on its way out. Actually, I think you can still use there because there is a collective pronoun. Collective pronoun, collective noun. If I give you a bouquet of flowers, you don't say, the bouquet smell good. No, ma'am. Bouquet is a collective noun. It is an arrangement of multiple flowers, but it is still just one thing. That's what makes it a collective noun. Ugh. She keeps watching from between the walls and grows more and more restless because she knows evil is here somewhere. She just hasn't found it yet. Thankfully, one of the henchmen comes by and offers to lick her pussy so she'll calm down. And they proceed with What?
If it wasn't for Mortis's hand wrapped firmly around my throat, I'd be a puddle of lust and cream on the floor.
Berries and cream, all the little Adelines, berries and cream.
That plays out. She's on the prowl again, but with a renewed focus now that she got her O. How wonderful. Just in time to spot old Gary sneaking into the haunted house looking for Jennifer. He's apparently scrawny with a thin gray hoodie and a mop of ugly brown hair and acne scars. She also says,
I bet if I were to peek beneath the sleeves covering his arm, I'd find track marks and picked over scabs.
ugh. She glitches from reality for a bit because she's experiencing PTSD from her abusive childhood and tells us how she sees mommy in every girl that she sees. And it's her job to save them.
This is why I'm here. This is my purpose, to protect my garden of flowers for wilting because of people like Gary and Daddy.
She hops out of her hiding place and starts taunting him around the house, gives us a little bit more necro forward inner monologue.
He'll be so cute when he's ripped open, his lifeless eyes staring at me from between my thighs.
Loves it. She starts singing Ring Around the Rosies, which does not bother me as much as the Freddie song, and oddly enough, doesn't bother me as much as that horrible attempt at writing a song in the Never King, y'all might remember. 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3. Better watch out, Peter Pan is going to murder thee. With the help of some of her henchmen, I don't remember because I don't care, she corners Gary, incapacitates him, finishes her song, of course, and feels all giggly when he drops down into a position where his bottom is in the air. I wrote yikes in my notes. She pulls him to the safety of her hiding place and waits for the fair to close down, I guess. She ties him up and then goes skipping off to go spy on Jennifer and Sarah some more. Feeling super great because she managed to stop him and he will soon pay for what he did to Jen. They're working still, so we get this little clunk.
On cue, Jennifer's distorted body comes crawling out from under the bed. A red-headed girl screams, the pitch of it making me cringe away from the wall. That was obnoxious. Good thing she smells like petunias or I'd have to kill her.
She wasn't talking about you, Petunia. Don't worry. I will freaking lay her out if she tried. Just look away. Petunias. We haven't gotten petunias yet, so woo! After the room clears, Jennifer is seen crying, and Sarah's like, what's wrong? And she's like, Gary didn't show up. And Sarah's like, didn't you tell him not to? And she's like, yeah, but he should care and want to come and whatever. It's a toxic relationship. We've all been there. And it's difficult to break away from those, and I'm not gonna judge. But Sibby is!
Despite what Gary did to her, she was still hoping he'd show up. And because I stopped that from happening, she's pissed. The black ink spreads deeper inside of me. What an ungrateful bitch!
Huh. Very victim blamey of you. She stomps off with even more rage than before because
She saved her! How dare she not be thankful? What a
fucking idiot. Chapter 5. Ugh. Gary's awake. Oh boy.
When he lays eyes on me, he screams with all his might. The sound is less significant than a kitten.
I'm confused about the goal of this sentence, so if you could just help me out. Are you saying that a kitten's cry is not significant and that his screams matter even like literally what did a cat do to you? What do you have against cats? I'm allergic to them and I still care when they cry.
We're gonna have so much fun together, I say reverently, already picturing all the places I'm gonna slice and stab. Maybe I'll paint a pretty picture with his blood when I'm done. Oh, I wonder if Jennifer would like that. Maybe then she'll appreciate what I did for her.
That's a great gift. You gonna wrap it? Or I think he tries to run, but a henchman stops him. I don't know how, and I don't know who. Sibby waits patiently for him to return.
Crisscross applesauce in her playroom. Now they can really play.
She stabs him and then grabs a hacksaw and starts to dismember him. Like you do.
I really wanted to watch him run away. But first, I need to cauterize his wound. Otherwise, he'll continue to lose blood too quickly, and then we won't get to play. I keep a mini blowtorch stashed in one of the end tables for this purpose.
Knife, hacksaw, blowtorch. Sure.
Hurrying over to grab the torch, I snatch it out of the pink drawer and then crouch in front of Gary. You ready? I ask, and he looks at me like I'm insane. That hurts my feelings.
Not her feelings. She successfully cauterizes everything and tells him to run.
With great pain and even greater slowness, Gary rolls to sit up.
That is a terrible sentence. This is a terrible book. That is a terrible sentence.
Standing guard in front of the foyer is Bane, my little grim reaper. That's who he's dressed up as. With his black hooded cloak and skeletal body, he puts Mortis's body to shame, but the entirety of his ribcage poking through his gray painted skin, along with every other bone in his body.
She's already mentioned him being the Grim Reaper a couple of times, and she did not offer any more description than that, and we're in chapter 5 now, and it's a little late. I know what the Grim Reaper looks like. I play The Sims. I also somewhat see a shadow of him every single time I read one of these books. Please stop. I'm I'm begging.
He says he doesn't like to eat. And I don't push him to correct his eating disorder. His cock is skinny, but it's the longest out of the bunch, so he always gets to fuck my ass.
You know what? Okay. Shut up with the eating disorder stuff, too. My God. EDs are another thing I don't trust in the hands of this author. The goal of this book, this dark romance book, is to make you horny over the gratuitous violence while demonizing mental illness, to shock and titillate at the same time. Nothing is handled with care. Control-Alt-Delete me from this world. She starts attacking Gary again, making him confess what he did to Jennifer and stabbing him repeatedly, but that's not enough. More gratuitous violence, and then she whips out a mace and smashes his feet with it so he can't escape, and then proceeds to sodomize him with said mace while one of the henchmen stands and jays off in the corner. And that's how he passes away, being brutally, viciously, anally hard. Dark romance. I don't know about you guys, but I am fully erect. Chapter 6. So this chapter is basically just an orgy between her and her henchmen. She's covered in the blood and entrails of old Gary, and they rail her on a table not too far from his lifeless body. And I won't be reading it because I hate it and it's gross. But if you don't believe me, I gotcha.
It feels like gallons of semen are being spilled into my body. My tummy bloats from the amount, and I have to grind my teeth against the incredible fullness.
Not her tum-tum. Oh, bother. The infantilization of Sibby and the childish language just makes it extra hot. And listen, don't even come for me. I know what age play is. I know what subspace is. I'm not shading anyone who participates in anything like that. I am shading this book because this author is not considerate or responsible when representing these things. And as a result, I hate it. Once they finish up, one of the henchmen tells them that they're headed to Seattle next, where a known PDF file ring is known to roam.
And Sibby's like, I hope some of them come to the fair.
Two things before we go on. One, in my last video, a couple of people commented like it was an embarrassingly long time before they realized what PDF file ring meant. So just to be clear, I'm not referencing an underground crew of people who are exchanging illegal documents, okay? I'm saying PDF file because I can't say the real word on YouTube because they don't like it. It's a ring of people who are big fans of children. You're with me. Two, why would these people go to a haunted fair? Remember, these are old, rich, white senators. And I'm not saying they don't know how to party, but why would they be at a fair? A yacht? Maybe. Private island? Sure. Haunted carnival? Let's be for real. Chapter 7. I feel like we're picking up speed. Whew, thank God, I gotta get out of here. Another flashback.
Mommy's been missing for days, but yay, she finally comes back.
She's clearly battered, and Sibby's like,
let's leave.
Her mommy's like, no, I'd rather stay and have you unalive your dad. Everything will be okay soon, Sibby. You're stronger than I am. That's why you're the only one who can stand up to Leonard. Leonard? You have fire in you that I simply do not possess.
She pauses and takes a deep breath as if gathering strength for what she's going to say next.
Which is why you're the only one who can stop him.
My eyes widen as I stare at her with incredulity.
I did not say that right, but I'm going to leave it alone.
She can't be saying what I think she's saying. She gathers herself and leans down into her nightstand. She pulls out a beautiful knife. The handle is beautiful pink and the wood hand carved and ornate. It's so pretty.
And Mommy's like, do you understand what I'm saying to you? We all do. Yeah, thanks. Then they go to bed and snuggle. But what Sibby didn't know is that her mother had taken some poison before they went to sleep. And Sibby just, quote,
spent the entire night staring at my mother's dead body and I never even realized it.
Chapter 8. Current day, we're in Seattle.
Yes!
And it's cold. And Sibby is grumpy face about it. She's waiting on the walls to go up so she can slip inside. She does take a few seconds to get off with one of the henchmen, though, of course. They're so hot. I mean, are they real? I don't know.
Hot breath fans across my sensitive flesh, causing goosebumps to rise on my flesh.
Say flesh again. Lately, I have seen a couple of TikToks that are concerning to me, but I immediately thought of these books when I saw them. One was about how they only rate on vibes and they're not like literary critics, and so they're not out here trying to pick apart a story. And the other is saying that every single book that's ever been written deserves at least 3 stars or you're an asshole. Let's read that sentence again with those two ideas in mind, okay?
Hot breath fans across my sensitive flesh, causing goosebumps to rise on my flesh.
I'm also not a literary critic. I have no degrees, don't need them to know that that is a shit sandwich of a sentence. And the book is full of them, as we know. Tell me again
How it deserves 3 stars. Lol. She gives us more descriptions of her henchmen who are so good to her, and bitch, I thought these things were hallucinations. What are we doing? More sexy time with the henchmen. My nipples are nearly cutting holes into my nightgown. He plucks one between his fingers, strumming my nipples and sending shockwaves straight to my pussy. The word strumming. Don't touch me! She gets off and goes wandering around the fair some more. And she sees a sleeping baby in a stroller while she's out and has like a flashback, a memory of this young girl who was in the cult, who was pregnant at age allow me. I shake my head harshly, squeezing my eyes against the unwanted memories. That 12-year-old girl birthed more of Daddy's babies within the next year. She died from complications in childbirth at 15 years old. Her third child, my sibling, a stillborn that dragged its mother's life away with it. I think that was the nicest thing anyone could have ever done for her. That baby offered her an escape, and she took it gladly. Skirt! What? Not only is this vile and unnecessary, it's not the first time that we've read something like that from Carlton. If you recall, back in Haunting Adeline, Zaid shows up at Adeline's house in a mood because he lost a girl that day. And as we recall, he is a vigilante hacker guy who busts up PDF file rings and rescues victims of said rings, most of which are children. To comfort him, Adeline says, well, death isn't the worst thing that's happened to her. We remember, right? And now we have this. This child lost a child after being essayed by a cult leader, and she also passes away in childbirth. And that's the nicest thing anyone could have done for her. I can think of at least 20 things that would have been nicer than dying in such a horrific way. Being rescued, given proper medical care, giving her a warm blanket, giving her something to eat, a little snacky snack, giving her some water, holding her hand, prenatal vitamins, a doula, an appointment with Planned Parenthood, a Plan B pill, therapy, coping skills, a safe place to live, a family to take her in and help her heal, call the authorities. Like, what do you mean it's the nicest thing anybody's ever done for her? What is this idea that the best thing, the only salvation for survivors of such things is death? What is this? And why has it been in 2 of this author's books? Serious cap, real quick. If you're a survivor of trauma or abuse in this way, death isn't the only good thing that can happen to you. I hope that you did not ever read something like this on one of your lowest days and think, no, okay? I'm not a therapist. I'm giving no medical advice. As someone who's dealt with the intrusive thoughts that often accompany trauma, I know that this is gross, and I know that it's untrue, and I know that it's not something that you should throw into a book without a trigger warning. Are you serious? I didn't like it the first time, and I hate it the second time. Now I'm just mad. Let's go back to the trigger warnings, okay? Let's do it. This book is extremely dark with triggering situations such as graphic gore and violence, arousal by murder, mentions of child abuse, psychological torture, suicide, and graphic sexual situations not suited for 18 plus. Mentions of child abuse? No. There are mentions of an eating disorder in here. They don't get in detail. This is more than that. In no way does that shitty trigger list give you any idea of what kind of stuff you should expect when you open this book. Plus, I don't even know what to label this shit. Awful dismissive language around SA survivors. I plan on writing insensitive things about victims of CSA and using their experience as erotically fueled trauma porn for my readers and weaving those insensitive comments into my characters' narrations. Like, what? How do you warn for that? Let me go ahead and tell you. It's a theme, so look out. Good God. At a certain point, it isn't the character talking anymore. 2 books, 2 different characters who both see or hear someone dealing with extreme childhood SA, and they both express that death is the best thing that could ever happen to them. I'm done. Series cap off. She parks her butt on the bench and hopes to get a whiff of some evil demon lurking around when she spots an old senator man suited up sitting on a bench off to the side at a fair. I used to go to the fair when I was younger. It was a fun time. And yeah, this is all we saw was just like suit-clad men wandering about in their little fancy shined shoes, eating an extra long corn dog. It just happens every single day. I would bet a fresh cotton candy that his cufflinks are more expensive than his life is worth.
Yeah. Because if he's as bad of a person as you claim he is, of course his cufflinks are worth more than his life. I think this half-drunk Diet Coke with a true lime is worth more than his life. Writing is hard. Just like this man for this childlike doll.
A smile cocks on his saggy cheeks. He likes my attention. I may look like a demented, broken little doll, but underneath the makeup is a young girl. I think I'm in my 20s, but with the amount of makeup layered on my face, I could easily pass for 16. Sick man.
Okay, she thinks she's in her 20s, but she looks like a child still. That's so great. I love
that. She smiles at him sweetly and then saunters back to her dollhouse, hoping he will follow later. Watching me walk to my dollhouse where he thinks he will find me, drag me off into a dark corner, and fuck my innocent little... How wrong he'll be. I will be the one to find him, and I will make sure to fuck him just as brutally as the woman he abused.
Oh yeah, he was with a woman. This eye for an eye thing when it comes to R is a lot for me. But hey, romance. Dark romance. She gets into place in the house and waits, and a group of girls comes in, and they wander through, and they smell of petunias, tulips, and daisies. Then another set, a duo of girls walk in after them, and I bet you can guess who they were. Yep, that's me. I'm sure you're wondering how I got here. This is kind of a funny story. Not funny, haha. Funny, throw myself into a river. What you're looking at here is me talking to myself with a dead microphone for at least 40 minutes. Yep, 40 minutes of footage with no sound. So I've had to come down from this tragic loss and re-record the last few chapters and the ending to this video. I appreciate your patience and understanding during this time. It has been a challenge, and it was very frustrating, but we are getting it done. On with the show.
Several long days later.
The front door creaks open, but instead of the sinister older man, it's two beautiful girls. My smile drops, and I feel disappointment for a moment before their smell fills the air. Immediately, I'm hit by the smell of jasmine and roses. My eyes nearly roll, but I keep them focused on the women. Both are beautiful in stark contrast to each other. One has long, beautiful, cinnamon-colored hair with light freckles dotting her creamy skin. Not the freckles! Other has smooth, dark brown skin, light green eyes that steal your breath away, and a golden hoop in her nose. Both have beautiful bodies. The cinnamon-haired girl curvier in the hips, but no less rounded in the right areas than her friend.
Horrible sentence. Why is Sibby trying to eye-fuck these women? But oh my god, Adeline and BFF Daya, I am beside myself. But if they're there, who comes next?
Zayd! The door creaks open and a shadow casts over the white wooden floor before a large man steps through, a hood pulled over his head. I suck in a sharp breath, my eyes widening at the stature of the man. He's not as big as Cronus, but he's the largest man I've ever seen.
That's a head scratcher. So here we are again with me wanting to pop my brain out and run it through a gentle cycle. He's not as big as Cronus. That means Cronus is bigger, but he's the biggest man she's ever seen.
Cronus is so big. He's the biggest man I've ever seen.
And then we have Zayd, who's not as big as Cronus. Biggest man I've ever seen. I fucking hate it here. Not as big as Cronus, but he's the biggest man you've ever seen. It makes no goddamn sense. You're terrible at this. Thanks. She tells us that Zayd doesn't smell like rot. Not Zaddy Zayd. He smells like fire and brimstone and burned roses. Clever. Not heavy-handed and obvious at all. But she knows. She just knows that he's there for those two beautiful girls. Rats! And then the creepy man with the suit shows up with a bunch of other guys that are also wearing suits.
And she's so frustrated because she doesn't know who to kill first. She can't kill them all. My word.
Then we have the initial meeting of Zayd and Sibby that we already experienced when I reviewed Haunting Adeline. But I'm going to run you back through it because it's my job. She jumps out at him, speaks to one of her henchmen. Zayd's like... He calls her crazy. She's like,
Harumph! I'm not crazy. You're a predator. You're gonna hurt those girls.
That just makes me deranged, not crazy. Then in the middle of this, a new chapter begins. Chapter 9. She is so ready to unalive Zayd, and honestly, it's the first time I've liked her. They go back and forth some more.
You're a bad guy.
And I'm only interested in one of the girls, Little Miss Crazy. Then he gets annoyed with her and punches her in the face, breaking her nose. Listen to me, and listen to me carefully. We have a common enemy here. Those 4 men are extremely dangerous and sick men. You're vastly outnumbered, and while I can take on 4 decrepit men, you would make my life a lot easier if you'd help. So let's set our differences aside for the time being. Kill these assholes together, and then you can try and fail to unalive me. Deal? Isn't that sweet? They're a team. I mean, he just punched her in the face, and she wants to unalive him, but hey! Teamwork makes the dream work. So they both attack the group of PDF files. I hope they don't get blood on their suits. Sibby takes him down with some pressure points. Pew, 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 pew. I am confused. She said that her dad taught her about him. So maybe Zaddy also taught her about floral identification through smell. Before they get started demon slaying, a few rules.
The girl with the light brown hair and the pretty black girl, you'll leave them alone, right? Because if you don't, our deal is off, and I'm killing you first.
He says they'll be in good hands. No, they won't. She tells us how hot he is again, even though I didn't ask. And she gets to work, dragging the people into the walls and waiting for midnight. Oh, we're almost there. Chapter 10. Sibby is peeved because Zaid is running late.
If I didn't know any better, he looks like he just engaged in some very intense makeout session. I scowl, miffed that he made me wait so he could smack lips with some girl.
Oh, diggity dang.
So rude. I can't wait to him later.
Honestly, same. They chat a little and get the demons situated. He starts affectionately calling her Demon Slayer.
She says her name is Sybil, but her friends call her Sibby.
He starts trying to get information out of the main suited man named Mark, but Sibby is unhinged, chaotic evil, and starts just going crazy cuckoo bananas on another person. And Zayd's like, bitch, chill. You're an interesting person, Sibby, but I'm gonna need you to calm the down. I can't interrogate in peace when you're over there stabbing someone like a cracked out banshee. You feel me? I feel you, homie. Straight up. Facts. No printer.
Normally being told to calm down would heighten my anger, but the fact that he deliberately used my nickname, that he considers me a friend, is what ultimately calms my nerves. My henchmen are all I have. I don't think I've ever had a real friend before.
And you still don't, my dude. Hate to break it to you, but it gets worse.
I swallow thickly and reluctantly nod my head. Are you done mocking me? I ask, my voice more timorous than I'd prefer. I don't know why, but something about Zayd just makes me want to listen. Makes me want to seek guidance from him. Maybe it's because I never had a real father, and Zayd asserts a platonic dominance over me that I always sought from daddy but never found. Zaddy Zayd, present.
She agrees to chill a bit and just starts picking through one of the guy's teeth. Yeah, go figure. Mark reluctantly gives up the information about the secret underground group called the Saviors and how to access their super secret dungeon club where they unalive youngins. Now, I'm not trying to be insensitive. I'm really not. But YouTube doesn't like some of the words. So Mark tells Zayd about how the kids' red juice gives them powers. That's a bit of that blood libel antisemitism that was discussed in the first book, and I simply cannot. Is that all you do? No, but it's the only thing we do that you have a chance of putting a stop to, as small as it is. The rest is a deep operations within the government. A lot of it specifically to keep control over the people and make them think they have control over anything that happens in their lives. And there's that QAnon stuff I was telling you about. I did have someone ask me what QAnon is in my comments before, and I highly recommend you looking that up on your own because I encourage outside research and independent study. And I also am trying to stay monetized here. If you lie, your death will be slow. My Demon Slayer and I have plenty of ideas on how to make it the most painful last hour of your miserable life.
I shiver from his words, from the deep timbre in which he speaks and how he claimed me as his. I smile big. I have my first friend. I hope he gets along with my henchmen. I'm sure once they're over their initial suspicions, they'll accept him into our little group as a brother and as a friend, just like I'm already starting to.
Shut up! The lunacy in this book is an untapped natural resource. We could fly to the moon, chill out for a bit, and then safely return home. She proceeds to unalive them and gets slicker than a baby seal about it. Again, yum, 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 can't get enough. Chapter 11.
Somewhere between torturing the demons together to finishing them off to chopping them into little pieces, I decided I no longer want to unalive Zayd.
Aw.
That's never happened before, but deep down I felt relieved. I decided to unalive Zayd because I knew he was dangerous, but he didn't smell like rot. Not like the true demons do. The hint of burnt roses told me that while he's dangerous, he's not dangerous towards the innocent.
That's not fucking true. They chit-chat while he stows body parts in his Mustang. She's chilling on the hood. Besties.
She knows he has to leave, but she doesn't want him to.
But he has to. So she says bye, and he starts to leave, and she starts to walk back towards the fair. But whoa!
Uh-oh, it's the Popo.
Cops surround her, and they're like, freeze, punk! And she's like, no. And then Zayd turns around and is like, get in the car, Sibby.
But ooh, she can't leave her henchmen.
So she dips and heads back to the dollhouse, and Zayd gets away.
Quietly, I slinker through the hallways and towards the staircase. There, I find my men waiting for me.
Slinker? Slinked? Slunk? Or do you mean...
Everyone knows it's Linky.
The cops are inside in minutes, and she's surrounded by her men, and they're like, we have to create a diversion.
And she knows she has to leave Satan's affair for good, because now they've seen her face, and they'll connect her to all the other murders and missing people everywhere the fair seems to go. But oof, she hates change.
I'll distract them, cause a commotion while the rest of you escape. One of you slash the tires. More to
distress. We nod our agreement, the panic in my veins bleached out and replaced with adrenaline. I don't know if I've ever been in a car before. After I escaped from Daddy's, I could only walk. I didn't have money for public transportation, and I refused to get in a car with a stranger.
What do you actually mean, though? You've never been in a car. But you were in Houston, now you're in Seattle. The fairs and carnivals that I'm aware of are transported usually by truck, which I guess technically isn't a car. But how are you getting from place to place if you've never been in a car? I hate you. They launch into action and steal one of the cop cars. Great plan. With Jackal at the wheel, Sibby riding shotgun, and everybody else in the back. They hear over the radio that they're dangerous, and Sibby's giggling about them calling him dangerous. Then she says again that she's never been in a car, and I'm like, okay. The cops close in. One of the cops rams into their car. It flips 4 or 5 times, and Sibby is pulled from the wreckage in a lot of pain. She's taken to the ambulance. She's looking for her men. Where are the men? Where are my men? My men! But they're gone. She looks back at the wreck, and they're gone. They've abandoned her. The last thing she hears before they sedate her is Mortis calling out for her. Epilogue. We find Sibby in an asylum. Could you believe it? She's really causing a stink about the cafeteria food, and a guard reprimands her. Clean up your act or you're gonna go back to your room.
He threatens, a stern look on his ugly face. There's no way this man gets... He's far too ugly with his greasy cornflower, blonde hair, pinched brown eyes, and acne scars all over his cheeks. Maybe I'll suck a stick later to loosen him up so he leaves me the hell alone.
Isn't getting... throwing him a blowy. Sure, yeah. I would ask if she's okay, but clearly she's not. Some unwanted person leans into her and she says,
I get a whiff of poison berries, the kind that Daddy had me pluck from the bushes and bake into pies when he deemed a follower unworthy.
I mean, you can just tell, right? You can tell that there was zero effort to write a good story. Just a shocking, depraved one. No structure at all, no gradual build over time, just ridiculous stuff just shoved right in there. And I get it. Listen. When I'm writing something and the ideas are just freaking flowing, they're flowing in, and all I want to do is get them out. I am alive with the creative drive, and I just need to get them all down from my brain to the world, right? It really helps if I just sit with those ideas for a little bit. Sift through them, work them, rework them, rearrange them, organize them in a cohesive way so the story flows and makes sense. And if more people did that, I don't think that they would feel the need to absent-mindedly and last minute shove these things in this haphazard, clunky manner. But hey, whatever. Anywhoosers, she chills and starts talking to a family annihilator, just chilling. But then she realizes it's time for therapy with Dr. Bitch. Obviously, Sibby hates her, and that's not her real name. Then we hear this.
Crazy people are the most interesting people in the world if you just let them be who they are. Medicating and drugging people until they're mindless zombies would make anyone depressed, you dumb bitch.
Yeah, you dumb bitch. Taking care of your mental health and putting boundaries in place to keep people safe. Medicating people. I bet she really thought she ate with that.
Crazy people are the best.
However, there's so much stigma around mental illness and medication in the first place, and something like this is just ignorant. It's just stupid. It's not a, yes, big pharma and the over-medication of the population is a problem. This isn't your Yas Queen moment that you thought it was. You just sound like an asshole. Okay, I'm done. Anyway, she's with Dr. Bitch, and are you ready for the big plot twist? Are you ready for the big reveal? You already know it, but hey, here we go. The doctor tells her that they found her henchmen and that they were all mannequins. Sibby is shook, obviously.
But we were together. I felt them. Dr. Rosie keeps her face neutral, but something like sympathy shines in her blue eyes. I still want to stab them now more than ever.
There were traces of your DNA found on the mannequin, Sibby, along with sex toys. This childlike woman was in this haunted house, fucking the mannequins. Anyway, she takes us all in. The doctor goes on to explain more about Sibby's issues and how she was the one who actually did all these crimes. And none of these men were actually demons like she thought. They were just bad men, but real people. Sibby is upset. But then she takes a deep breath and she collects herself and says, they are real. And then one of them, I don't remember which one, shows up standing behind Dr. Bitch. And the story ends having us believe that now they've returned and Sibby's just going to go on a unaliving rampage through the hospital. The end. Well, we're done. We made it. How does everybody feel? I don't know. I don't really have much to say. Hold on. It's just not good. And that's okay. I'm not good at a lot of things. What am I not good at? Math. If you ever
see me attempting to do mathematical equations in order to further science or some sort of field that I am not a specialist in, I hope that you will tell me the same thing. Hey, buddy, maybe you should just sit this one out. And it doesn't really matter what I say because H.D. Carlton is wildly successful. I think that, no, I'm just going to leave it alone. I did not like this book. I think that Sibby is stupid. And if she was based off of the novel Sybil, based around the life of a woman who was struggling with dissociative identity disorder, who then later revealed that she was making the whole thing up the whole time. Are there words for that? The whole series is a big old mess. It's full of problematic content and shitty writing. Again, if you like it, good for you. I love that for you. All day long, I will defend your right to read it if you want to. However, I will not be quiet about how much I hate it. There is nothing else to say, really. I think that every book that I read by H.D. Carlton is going to be this bad. I will say that it did not take me as long to get through Satan's Affair. I did like that it was only 197 pages. It still felt forever long because this person's not good at writing, but what are you gonna do? And you little stinkers out there might be thrilled to hear that I've been commissioned to review Hunting Adeline as well. So that will be coming this summer, and I hope that you're ready. I'm not, but I hope that you are. I really appreciate you sticking this one out with me. It was not as long and painful as the other ones, and it probably will pale in comparison to what I'm about to have to go through in reading Hunting Adeline, and my God. And I appreciate you being patient since I recorded this review a week ago and then found out that half of it was unusable footage, and now I've had to do it all over again. I really appreciate you being understanding and supportive during that time. I'm in the process of trying to save money so I can get a new computer because the one that I have is almost a decade old and it never agreed to being a video editing computer. And that's my fault. That's on me. So I'm going to right my wrong with that. So if you are looking for a way to support the channel, you can join here and become a paid member. You can become a bookworm and get early access to videos. I also have a Patreon and a coffee, and I would love to see you over there. We have a really good time. Again, thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe if I made you giggle or if you enjoyed this review, and I will see you in the next review. I plan for it to be a good one, so y'all better show up and show out for me, okay? I know that the rants get the clicks, but I want to talk about good books too, okay? I'll see you in the next one. Bye!